everything. There we go.
Hello, everybody. It is that time again. Welcome once again to the Get Hired Live with myself, Nigel Gordon-Johnson. If you don't know me, then that's who I am. And we're here specifically to talk every week about some of the trials and tribulations that people are having in looking for a new job out in the wonderful world of recruiting that is now 2026. It's not easy, but there is a new way around it, which we're going to talk about a lot more today. I can see lots of you coming through and coming in. Great to see you all again. Make sure you introduce yourself. Say hello, Hazibul. Hi, great to see you again. Always good. And also let everyone know where you're from. Carolyn, hi, in Harrogate. I know there was a little bit of snow there this morning. There was certainly with me. So I'm looking forward as I go later on over there. Today. Hi, Simon. Great to see you as well. Always good to see everyone. Happy Friday. Exactly. It's always a happy Friday, especially coming onto this show as well, which I hope is super useful and always makes you happy at the end of it. Jane, always good to see you as well. I hope Netherlands is treating you well. It is thank goodness it is Friday. I saw you're getting quite a bit of traction as well on your job search. So hopefully things are going well for you as well. For those that don't know, look, we're going live, not just in LinkedIn. We are spreading the news as far and wide as we can do. So we're also simultaneously going live on YouTube. We're also going live on X. So whichever is your preferred medium, try any of those. We can see which ones we're going to do. So Foxy, oh no, you have got a busy life, but it's good to see you briefly, even if it is just for a brief hello and goodbye. But it's fantastic for Foxy to see him in his new job. Everything's going really well there, and perhaps a little bit more senior than you anticipated. But I love the fact you're still going with your Foxy's Lab. As ever, quick advert. If you're not subscribed to Foxy's Lab on YouTube, please make sure you do and go and view and support. There's some great videos there that Foxy's doing as well. It's amazing to see the journey that I think everybody is going on through here with us in this Get Hired community, and seeing how people are really changing their lives and really changing their approach in terms of what to do on the job market. And in particular, coming into the Get Hired group, we're starting to expand that more and more. We're very nearly up to 400 people in the Get Hired group. So it's fantastic to see there. We're continuing to expand. And every week, we're getting good news coming into the weekly wins that people are having. If you're not already on there, James will share the link. If you are joining this LinkedIn Live for the first time, there is a link here. It's completely free. Go to the Get Hired group. It is a community of all of us here, which is to really come along here and really support each other in what to do. So yes, exactly, Kirsten. It's Foxy's Lab. It's required viewing. I'm sure it'll be taken up by Netflix anytime soon and turned into some amazing sort of docudrama. Foxy might well play himself in that one. That would be even better to see. So look, what are we going to be doing here today? I think as you hello from Paris, Sophie, great to see you as well. I hope you're really well. Fantastic. It's been a while since we last chatted, but it's always good to see you here as well. Afternoon from a grey but not raining, probably for the first time in Greater Manchester. Again, you're not too far from me, a little bit over the other side. I know I'm from Yorkshire, and I'm not meant to like anybody on that side of it. I think it's a bit crazy. But in fact, we're so close that from one side of my garden, we can see all over the hills over into Lancashire. So you're not a million miles away from me at all. So throughout this year, we've been doing themes in terms of the whole jobs process, what to do to really get traction and really to get through that minefield that I think a lot of you are finding. And it's probably today we're going to be going through in particular commenting strategy and what you can do on LinkedIn to really start getting eyes onto your profile in LinkedIn, and to really start getting more visibility, because visibility is the thing that is key to being successful in your job search. It's not what it used to be. So 10, 15 years ago and before then, it was all about how many applications have you done? How many have you made? How many CVs have you sent out? How many are you doing? All about volume, not about quality. It was just that, because there really wasn't very much else. LinkedIn was in its infancy in that. People hadn't really sort of picked it up, and LinkedIn has exploded like a lot of social media platforms. As it stands right now, LinkedIn has 1.2 billion people on it. 1.2 billion. It's a big platform. Essentially, in whatever country you are in, there are millions of people. All the main countries and I know we've got people all over the world coming into this LinkedIn Live, which is great to see as well. But all of you coming in through from all of these different countries, it is incredible the power that LinkedIn has at your fingertips for a job search. That's the easy bit. The more challenging bit is you have to approach it in a very different way to make it work for you. And using that same process that we've all been geared up to doing, which is we go and find a job, we apply for a job, we send our CV off, and we sit there and wait very patiently until somebody comes back to us, doesn't work very well. And the way that LinkedIn is designed is it's not designed necessarily to do that, even though it has lots of jobs on there, which so you sort of think, well, what's Nigel saying? It sounds counterintuitive because it's like a jobs board. It's got lots of jobs there. So surely I should be doing that. Now, you're still going to strategically apply. You're still going to need a CV. At some point, you're going to need to apply for a role. However, the bit that people are finding difficult is getting conversations. And how are you going to get those conversations? You need to get visibility. You need to get eyes on your profile. So we talked last week about your LinkedIn profile on LinkedIn, how to optimize it, what to do on it, how you should change it, what you should be doing there to make sure that when people actually get there, that they're looking and finding exactly what it is that they're looking for. But how do you get the eyes onto it in the first place? Because your LinkedIn profile is like your landing page, and that's what you need to think of it. In marketing terms, that's what you're trying to drive traffic to. You're trying to get people to get eyes onto your profile so that they can then do something. So make sure that the number one thing before you do anything, optimize your profile. Make sure your profile is telling the story about who you are, the value you bring, and where you're going. And how do you solve those challenges for those companies that are looking to hire right now? How do you then put that on there onto your profile to make sure it is? So the next step is then to start creating content, and content essentially gets interest. It garners interest for it. And we see so much of it on LinkedIn. There's tons and tons of it. And I guess there's two different types of content you can do. Either you're going to create the big posts and you start creating something and putting something up, which can feel, I don't know whether any of you might think, when I say that to you now, if I said to you, go off and go and post a piece of content right now, how would you feel right now? I know what you're probably going to say, but tell us in the comments, how does that make you feel? Are you feel fearful with it? Are you super confident? You're still quite happy to do that? How do you feel with that? Because I suspect that what most of you will feel is pretty fearful, feeling a bit stressed. It's not always fun. It's not the easy, and that imposter syndrome appears out of nowhere to really have a go at you. But there's another way. And the other way is by commenting on other people's posts. Philip, hi, great to see you as well. Indeed, apply every day, but applications need to be strategic, not carpet bombing. I love that analogy. Absolutely right. It is strategic applications, but you still need to apply. Absolutely right. You're going to need to. So, and what we're going to be starting to do here is starting to work on that strategy of how do I strategically apply there, and then at the same time, get the right amount of attention back onto my profile. Because I can assure you, every single application you make, as soon as a recruiter looks at your CV, if they're doing it just from that, they'll check out your LinkedIn profile. They'll go on to LinkedIn and go and check you out. Not all of them, but a lot of them will do. Gemma, exactly, nervous. I'm sure you would do. When I first started on my LinkedIn journey, I can assure you, I was petrified of going out there and putting posts out and telling people the sort of the value of what I've been doing for the past goodness knows how many years. But it really, really does feel tough. Kirsten, exactly. It feels forced and unnatural because we're not used to doing it. And it also, do you think that also because we're constantly trained, even as a child, we're told when we're trying to say something, will you be quiet? Don't show off. Nobody likes a show off. And so we're sort of trained, conditioned to be thinking we shouldn't be doing that. And as soon as we see things up there on LinkedIn, you think that everybody else is going to start thinking, oh, what a show off. Well, who are they to say that? In fact, as part of my, I do a lot of career coaching, a lot of executive career coaching. So senior C-level individuals to try and help them through their careers. And indeed, in terms of looking for new positions as well. I talk and advocate about, let's look at your LinkedIn profile, let's audit it, let's see what's good, what's working, what's not working, what does it say about you? How are you positioning yourself in the market? I can tell you that every single C-level individual that I've worked for, some extremely experienced, extremely successful, working for very large multinational corporates, earning a lot of money, a lot of them will all say the same thing as you've just said there. I feel nervous about it. Who am I to say it? People aren't going to be interested in me spamming them with posts up on LinkedIn. Incredibly, that's what they think. They don't think that about their brand or the company they're working for, but seemingly they do for themselves. And that's the first hurdle that you've always got to get, is to try and overcome that. But one of the easiest ways to overcome that is by starting to go onto commenting, because commenting doesn't really feel quite so bad. It doesn't feel quite so daunting. It doesn't feel quite so nervy because you're not having to have a blank screen and you're doing it. Basically, somebody else has put the content up already and you're literally just commenting. You're expressing a view. So how does that make you feel? So I'd be really interested into seeing, first of all, is commenting something that you all do quite naturally? Is it something you do very much? Do you think you could do a bit better at it? And how do you feel about it when you're starting to do those comments? Do you feel as nervous about putting a comment up as you did with putting posts up? Because that's another way of doing it as well. And what I'd like to do today, we're going to do it slightly differently. So we're not going to bring somebody on stage to do that, because I think that might be quite daunting to do. I thought what we'll do is we're going to, and I've deliberately done one of my posts, which I think I put up a day ago or a couple of days, whichever one it was. I started to reply to the comments that came on there. And then I came up with an idea. And I thought, you know what? I think it would be really useful for me to go in the live today is to go through that post and let's respond together to the comments that other people have put on there. Now, obviously, I'm not giving anything away because it's all public and everyone can see this, but I thought that might be quite useful to see how you would all feel about doing that. Gemma, I've started commenting and it does feel better and more comfortable. Exactly. It's a much easier way to sort of come into it. And often we do that because we just think, well, it's just a conversation. I'm just putting something in there that is a conversation piece. I'm not having to really talk too much about myself or really put myself out there. It doesn't feel quite so daunting. But a good way to look at it is you think of them exactly that. You think of them as micro posts. So that's how good they are. Now, a great point that LinkedIn is doing is actually putting underneath your comments, it'll put the impressions that you have. So you can see how many other people have seen it. Sometimes it can be 10 or 12. Sometimes it can be a couple of hundred. Sometimes it can be several thousand. It really depends. But each of those people, and this is why it's so powerful, each of those people, when you're putting a comment there, the person you're responding to the comment to will absolutely look at it. Everybody else involved in that post will start reading it. And then what they'll do is once they've read that, invariably, they'll click on your profile and go and have a look to see who you are. And that's how you can really start to drive traffic through, and quite a large amount of traffic that you can get through. Carolyn, I said this last week, but we'll repeat though for those who are new here that my experience is very much that a thoughtful, articulate comment of substance really does prompt people to view your profile. 100%. And I think the point that you make there, Karen, is really worthwhile, where you're saying that it's about a thoughtful, articulate comment of substance. That's the bit that's good. The bit that doesn't work is where you just say, great post, many thanks, congratulations. Now, sometimes they might work, and occasionally that might be the case, but 90% of the time you need to be exactly that, something a bit more substantive, something that's value add, something that prompts more discussion. LinkedIn really likes that. They prefer the slightly longer form comments than the short ones. The algorithm will absolutely penalize for short comments. That being said, sometimes, dependent on what the type of content you're commenting on, it can prompt it. I mentioned last year, I remember this one, I always remember this one in particular. Somebody had put a picture on their LinkedIn. It wasn't particularly business focused, but it was a picture of a biscuit tin, and it had one empty section, and it had lots of other biscuits in there, and it said, what biscuit is missing? And of course, everybody, it sort of went viral. Everybody was going for it. I think the one thing that wasn't there, which seemed to get an awful lot, was bourbons. And I literally, all I put was, I just put bourbons. So one word, which I don't normally advocate, but here one word picture was painted 1,000 words, but that one bourbon comment got over 50,000 impressions just from that one comment. And so sometimes, depending on what you're commenting on, can get it. Now, of course, what I will turn around and say is that what you're trying to do is not just get impressions for the sake of getting impressions. What you're trying to do is to get your target audience to come and talk to you. So if you're doing all the other things right, i.e., you're following the target companies that you're looking to go and work for, the people you're applying for jobs for, the companies you're applying for jobs for, well, you should absolutely be following those companies on LinkedIn, and you're targeting your comments to their content and adding value, authenticity, then absolutely you're driving the right amount of traffic into you as well. Kirsten, by the way, would you have stats to confirm what does better, posts or comments, for gaining traction for profile views and conversations? It's a great question. I can probably get some data on that can actually show where it will go to. Both will achieve that for you, but absolutely it depends. There's a lot of depending there. So on both sides of it, the depending point is that if your content, whether it's comment or whether it is a post that you're putting up, is valuable, is prompting a question, is posing something that's interesting to the reader, then absolutely it will. If it is, for the sake of argument, that you're just putting congratulations on a post, then absolutely, then the likelihood is they're not really going to want to follow and look into your profile, because, well, so what? They might be slightly nosy, so you're probably going to get a small percentage of people who are just idly doing that. But generally speaking, it's about the type of content that you're going to be putting on there. I think that makes a big difference. So look, let's share one of my screens and let's have a little look at it. It was a post that I did. I'm trying to look here. It was a post I did yesterday that I did specifically on this subject. So bear with me. Let me just quickly share my screen. Hopefully it will come up in a second as we do that. I'll make sure I share the right screen. Hopefully everyone can see it all right. So there you can see. So look, I'm just sharing a post that I did yesterday. The post was, too many people are struggling to get hired, little pointy down. And the main culprit is that they are job searching like it's still 2015. They mass apply to roles, spend hours writing cover letters, etc., and wait, as we all know, they do, hoping an automated system picks them at some point. For sure, that approach used to work, but the sad reality in 2026 is that it doesn't anymore. The people who land roles today are not passive job seekers. They're active job hunters. They build a personal brand, visible in their industry, etc. And then I put it at the bottom here, how are you changing your approach to this job market to prompt a little bit of comments. We've had 11 comments from there. So not a massive amount, but look, we've had some there. And we've had some that we've already done. But what I wanted to do here was to just take some examples of some of those comments that we've had and then give an example of, look, live, how would I respond to it? Which, by the way, as a quick tip for everybody, when you're putting your posts up and people are commenting to it, make sure you respond to them all. Make sure you try and get round to responding. And I try to do that. I often will do stages where I'll put into my calendar, because I have plenty of other things I do, but I'll put into my calendar times for me to do it. So I'll just put a 25-minute calendar bit and say it's responding comments time. And I'll just go through my my posts, see what they are, and I'll go through it and answer them for each of it. So, and it's really important for a couple of things. One is it gets more traction onto your post. So if you put a post up there and you're responding to those people themselves will do that. Plus also, it's going to, your response to their comment is going to then start picking up in their feed for their connections and their followers, etc. So that's how the social element of social media on LinkedIn works. And LinkedIn absolutely loves comments. It absolutely loves the engagement. That's the bit that they need more of. I'm sure you've probably seen in your feed loads of posts there that don't get anything. They make it like 3 or 4 posts, 3 or 4 likes and no comments. They want to see the posts that get comments. And I've noticed that when I get some that suddenly get a whole mass of commenting, and they're quite long commenting and conversations in it, then all of my surrounding posts suddenly get more views. And it's clearly because the algorithm looks at it and thinks, hang on a minute, people are interested in what he's just posted here. So therefore, the likelihood is that similar posts near to it are going to also get engagement. So let's push them a little bit more. So it's really important to do that. So look, let's have a look at this. So Daniela here put, truth is we do both headhunting and advertising jobs. Resumes still matter, as does having a coherent LinkedIn profile that shows your success. So maybe give some advice, tell me what you think. How would you respond to that? What would you think would be a good way of responding? And then we can look through some of your ideas as well. So first of all, I'll give it a like on doing that. I then respond. Now, there's a couple of bits you'll see here. Most people will have it here to respond as Daniela Howe. Make sure you keep that in there because it will notify them to do that. So it'll go into their notifications. It'll then pop up. It's really important for you to see that. And there you go. You can, you're getting a little bit more traction on what it is. So let's respond to this. Truth is we do both headhunting and advertising jobs. Resumes still matter, as does having a coherent LinkedIn profile that shows your success. So I would say something like, absolutely right. Your LinkedIn profile is vital to success in job hunting in 2026. Why it's so important to ensure, oops, daisy, my typing's not great, especially when I'm under pressure to do this live as well. Why it's so important to ensure that you have a fully optimized profile that is authentic and value add. Okay. So what do you think? Well, we've put that comment in there. It's a few sentences in it. In this particular instance, look, I'm agreeing with what they've said and I've expanded on it. So I've taken a part of what that comment was, which sits to what, and those of you that know me know that I talk a lot about LinkedIn profile, getting how you've got to be value add, you've got to be strategic, why it's so important to get visibility, and the fact that you've got to be authentic. And I've basically got that in there. Not only am I responding to Daniela there, but I'm also responding to all the people looking at this particular post and all of her followers as well. And indeed, all the other people in this who have commented and liked will also start to see this coming through. And that then starts to push through a little bit more in terms of what the comment should be. the easiest thing for me to have done is just keep on replying to that and go, totally agree. You're right. Thanks for commenting. Those are the things which absolutely 100% would not work. That's not the way we want to make sure we're doing it. What we want to make sure that we're doing is adding as much value as possible. Now, I'm sure that that's also because I know how I felt when I first started commenting. And if I share through again for you, I'll show you an example of how I sort of struggled a little bit when I first started going through a sort of commenting strategy, and how I could really up that more. Is that if we take this next one here, so let's see, what have I found over time? What I have found over time is that searching has shifted from apply and wait to show up and be seen. LinkedIn isn't optional anymore. It's the first place recruiters and hiring managers look. If you're invisible there, you're invisible, full stop. I have to say, Charles is 100% right. I have to say, I haven't put him up to putting that comment in there, but he is right. The temptation used to be before, and I used to then think, when I would look at something like that, you'd sit there, just like when you're doing the post, God, where do I start? What am I going to say? Oh, I don't know. Is this not quite right? I'm not sure I want to say that. Oh, I'll just say, yeah, I really agree. Really good point. And then you sort of feel like, well, I've commented. It's better not to comment at all than probably just put that. It's really important to do it. So again, you want to start clicking on that to reply. What I find over time, absolutely. I mean, he is absolutely right. I can't deny that. I'm going to talk about visibility. Visibility in 2026 is key to your success. And he's put there. So what he wants to do is you want to then look to see, okay, how do I then look at that? He's talked about the apply and wait strategy. So that is a really important, because that's where, for me, I'd look and think, okay, that's the bit that I'm trying to guide people away from that mass application. So let's put that, exactly that. The mass application approach is a recipe for disaster. It means your CV, may help if I spell, CV gets lost in the crowd, and you'll inevitably sit waiting for months for a reply if you're lucky. Exclamation mark. And so there you are. So I've made a sort of point. I've put something also a little bit controversial. So it's a little bit that might prompt a response. So Charles might look at that, and because it may well mean that he's gone through that approach and he's felt it himself. Like most people who are searching for jobs, they know full well it's a tough one to do. So there we go. And we just posted that, and off we go and do that. So that's essentially what I then do is my approach, is I'm just going through it and then just sort of seeing where it is and go along. Jane, I think that is the trick. In the beginning, I was commenting on posts of people in a similar situation to myself, that is, having been made redundant. I soon learned that those are not my target audience. I want to be seen not as a job seeker, but as someone who you would want to employ. 100%. That is, and it's such a good point, Jane. We all do that. In fact, I had this very conversation with somebody else earlier this week, where they were going through exactly the same process that you were doing. They were quite active on LinkedIn, in actual fact, and producing quite a lot of content, but all of their content was all about their job search. Now, it's fine to sort of talk a little bit about it, but why define that? And if a recruiter or a hiring manager or anybody else suddenly goes to look at your profile, all they're going to see is just reams and reams and reams of, I'm out of work and I'm desperate for a job, which we all are. When you're looking for a job, you need one. But if you're constantly just you're more than that. Your value is all the great work that you've done, all the great work you can bring to this employer, the challenges that you can solve. That's what you need to be posting about. If you've been, for the sake of argument, if you've been in sales selling widgets for the last 15 years, and you've been selling a lot of widgets for a different, particular motor manufacturer, for the sake of argument, then you're going to know an awful lot about that. You're going to be an expert in your field, and other companies are going to want experts in that field in order to solve their problems as well. That's what you should be talking about. The situations that you've come across, what's happened with you, and that's the bit that will add value to you. Nigel, as a recruiter, would you look at people's posts and comments when you're reviewing their profile for fit, with an opportunity you're recruiting to, or just their actual profile? That's a really good question. Quite honestly, I think most recruiters don't go on to clicking posts and comments and videos. I say most. I think there is still a substantial amount of them, and increasing, that are doing that, are looking, especially if it's video, because of course everybody likes to have a little look at a video because it's nice and easy, quick to see. But look, that doesn't mean it's not necessary to do it. What recruiters, so just what the recruiters will do, if they're doing, and so they'll look at it in two different ways, or three different ways in actual fact. The first way is if they're going to go, they've got a CV that's come through, applied for their job. They'll look at it. If you've got your LinkedIn profile on there, fantastic. Make sure you do when you have your CV as well. Make sure it's clickable. They'll click on that, go straight onto your profile, and they'll quickly review it. Because what they will find is that a well-optimized LinkedIn profile gives you far more information and far more knowledge about the candidate than your CV ever will. Because sometimes CVs are all formatted in different ways and different ways of doing it. Some people like it, some people don't, and then you're then going down that road of what everybody starts discussing. Should it be 2 pages long, 20 pages long? Or should it have your hobbies in, not have your hobbies in? At the end of the day, I think recruiters have sort of got beyond that now and realized that LinkedIn is a much better window into the soul of a candidate. So that's why it's important to do it. Some absolutely will. So some will look at your content. But more invariably, they'll look at it for that, just to sort of, okay, that's what I've got here. Let's have a look at there. Then you'll have recruiters who will then be searching for you on LinkedIn Recruiter. And then they'll filter for it, look on your location, look at who it is. And of course, they are reviewing your profile just as if it was a CV. They're reviewing that. But they review it in a slightly different way. So they don't have CV mentality in there. They're trying to find, can you add the value? Are you the person that's going to solve the challenge that my hiring manager has got? That's why it's so important to optimize your profile so that you can be found. You've got the right keywords in there, and you're showing and demonstrating value super, super quickly. Then it will be seen. And then the third way that recruiters will see it, of course, is if they're seeing your comments. You've commented on something that they've put up there, and then they click onto your link. And of course, what they might do is hover on your name first, and you get the little bit there that will say who it is, which is why it's so important to make sure that you're branding yourself well in that first bit, and your banner. Make sure that you've got that in there so that you're being seen correctly. And then it really depends. As I say, I think there's a small amount of people that will absolutely. I tend to, not for everyone, but I will tend to flick through a person's profile. I will look, and then I will have a look there beneath that as well. And have a look at recommendations, have a look at their content, what they've been commenting on, whether they've got some videos there. We'll get a feel for who that person is and what value they bring to whatever client I'm working with. So look, it's a really, really good question there from that as well. We've got another question here. Agreed about talking about your achievements in previous roles. The challenge here for job seekers is that when you've been in the searching mindset for quite some time, you tend to lose your confidence a bit and forget about how much value you have brought into past organizations. 100% LinkedIn user. Make sure that's either, then you're coming up as LinkedIn user either because LinkedIn Live is not great at doing that, so sometimes it can do it. And secondly, you need to check your settings just to make sure that you are publicly visible as well. But the point you're making there is 100% correct. You can absolutely, and if you've been doing that for any length of time, your confidence absolutely will take a knock. It really, really will. And the point that you've said there, you forget about how much value you have brought in the past to organizations is absolutely true. I could do a day-long session on how to try and get yourself out of that one. But what I can do is give you a little snippet to try and help you in that process. One of the techniques and I've done this myself in the past, is you just get a blank piece of paper and you start to write in there in whatever order you want. You can do it as a circular one. You can put them in there. Start putting in achievements and start easy. So start with, and it can be literally anything at all. I learned to ride a bike. Put that in there. I learned to swim. I managed to, run a 5K, ran a marathon, so start with personal stuff and then start to expand it out. So start to fill those things out. And it's amazing how quickly you'll start demonstrating some of those values. And then from each of those things that you've achieved and each of those experiences you've had, then start to look at it from the other way. List the ways that you've helped people. And that can be in work, outside of work. It can be in friendship groups, at school, at college, at university, in voluntary efforts. List those all down as well. Then start listing some of your key successes at work. So it could be client successes where you've won things over, new business that you've created, whatever field that you're in, start writing those down. Then start to do, where have you found your toughest challenges and how you got around them? What were your biggest learns from that? Write all of those down as well. Before you know it, and you start working on this bit of blank piece of paper, you will end up with hundreds of things that you've got there, hundreds that you will write that down. And what you'll actually be surprised as you're doing that is that it reminds yourself of quite how much value you have contributed in your life, to work, to your family, to the community all around you. That's how you start to rebuild your confidence, because 100%, that is not you, it's the situation you're in, and it is completely natural. Every single one of us, myself included, has gone through those bouts where you will have imposter syndrome, you will have knocks of your confidence. If you're searching for a job for any length of time, it's not going to be easy, and that will happen. But those are the measures you start to do little by little that start to build that back up. And the great thing is that once you've got that document and you've got all of these things that you've tabled in there, that is all pieces of content that you can start talking about. And you can pick and choose what it is that you have. But just as you're starting to put there about work, about things that are personal to you, about school, about lessons you've learned, things that happened in your life, great achievements you've had, things you've done in your community, things that you want to do, things you're planning to do. That's exactly what a content strategy on LinkedIn should be about. 100%. And if you're not sure about then putting that out there on that, that's where you can start to get inspiration of how I respond to other people's content as well. Because the bits that people will really like to see is where somebody's put some content about something you're expert in your field, and it's something that resonates with you, that you think, well, hang on a minute, I had something like that. I did exactly that. We had the same issue, and this is how I solved it. So what you can do is exactly that. Just write that. We had the exact same issue as this. This is with some of the challenges that we found with it, and this is how we solved it. And guess what? Every single person in that company who are peers of the type of work that you would be looking for are going to see that, and you're demonstrating your value. It's almost like you're at an interview without actually being in an interview. You're showing someone really quickly the value you bring to an organization and why somebody should click on your profile and reach out to you and start talking to you. And what we know is that once you start getting those conversations done, that's where interviews start happening. And when the interviews start happening, that's when that next process happens as well. Philip, one of the first things I did was this take every job, task, or project I ever did and write them up in the star format. No AI, just a spreadsheet. It helped identify themes. Absolutely right. And it is such a powerful tool to do. And you can do it in whichever way you like. Either, just a piece of paper like that. When I did it, I actually got one great big bit of paper, stuck it up on the wall, and just started writing. And I was just on my own, didn't have anybody else there with it. I'm sure when my wife came in and saw that, probably thought I was crackers, but it absolutely is important to do. And it's amazing how much you start to remember of what you've done. It can be, you can be out in the workplace for like 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. You forget an awful lot. It just goes back into the gray matter, and you forget it. And doing processes like this, and as Philip said, it really brings that all out there, and it does naturally give you that confidence that you do have a great deal of value to show and to demonstrate, and that you can bring to another organization. So we're coming towards the end of our time, but I want to come, as I inevitably do. I know I always start to give tasks for everybody and things what you could do. You can guess what I'm going to ask you to do this week. And part of what we want you to do is to do some more commenting. So the task is here. So there's a couple of things that you need to do. Consistency is better than volume. It is better to do 5 comments every single day than it is to do 25 comments today and then do none for a week and a half. Absolutely, consistency will be better. LinkedIn, again, rewards consistency. It wants to see that you are going into the platform, you're reviewing things, and you're commenting on it. So the best advice I can give is table a little bit of time for yourself each day, maybe just 20 minutes, and literally just go through your feed to start off with, and then start commenting on some posts. Try and work on longer form. So maybe you look and think, I'm going to make sure that I'm giving 3 or 4 sentences of what I'm going to write. I think that would be useful. So that would be my challenge for everybody for next week. Hasibul, I got a direct opportunity. I didn't even submit my CV. I mainly focused on LinkedIn, and it worked the last 2 times. Fantastic. That's great to hear, and congratulations. And exactly, it does. The more that you're putting yourself out there and doing that, the more absolutely you will get focus and get that. So look, start to work on the commenting strategy. Make sure that you look at those different pieces of content. It doesn't matter if what you're putting up there is a load of old rubbish, because at start, it might well be. It doesn't matter. But the most important thing is that you get over that hurdle and you start to do it. Because, as soon as you start, the more that you start to get there, the more intuitive it becomes, the easier it becomes. Just as you saw where I was doing it earlier, pick on what somebody has said in that comment and maybe just take out one section of it and think, oh yeah, that's quite good. That resonates with me. I quite like that. So respond to that and then put it in there and add your own view, your own opinion. Make sure that when you're engaging with people, we're always going to be all super, super respectful. LinkedIn is a friendly place. It's not like the quagmire that X has sometimes turned into, where it's like a great big bun fight. LinkedIn is there to be supportive, to be sometimes controversial. Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite happy to respectfully challenge things, but put it there and think of it as a process of adding your value. How do you enhance the comment that you're actually, or the post that you're responding to? So if you're responding to a post, make sure that you enhance that a little bit more. Bring something from your experience into it. If you're responding to a comment, absolutely the same thing. So respond positively. It's a great way to do it. Okay, look, thank you everybody once again. It's been a fascinating session. Thanks for everybody's questions as well. Really good. James has shared in with the link to the Get Hired group. Make sure that you click onto that, join the group. There's a section in there for Q&A, so you can have as many questions and answers as you want. So, we're there to continually support you, not just on this bit. While we're on that, we're also going to be launching a couple of other new initiatives. I mentioned this last week, but I can mention it again. We're going to be having some sort of coffee and question session once a week with myself, where I will be, again, just going live midweek for half an hour at a slightly different time zone. I've had quite a lot of comments from people over in the US who are saying that this time isn't quite working for them, so they're picking it up on the recording. So I'm starting to do that there. So we're looking probably around about sort of 5 o'clock UK time in the afternoon on Wednesdays, maybe sometimes Tuesdays. It'll be fairly flexible, but we're going to put those out there. We will be advertising those out. It will be going across numerous different streams, so not just in LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram, but also in the Get Hired community as well. So whichever way is going to be easy for you, you can get access to it and do it on that. Thank you once again, everybody. I enjoyed it immensely. Have an amazing weekend. If you're in somewhere where it's slightly colder, I hope that you get snow. I'm really hoping by the time I get outside this afternoon, it is a winter wonderland. I think I might be lucky if I've got that. But wherever you are in the world, stay safe. Have a fantastic weekend. And I will see you this time next week. Cheers.